Banks heard a knock at the door.
Are you strict? Of course. Are you patient?
All the kids wondered.
Do you like games? Of course.
So they all decided.
You're hired.
The Poppins wondered. And Mr. Banks told them.
One nanny is never enough.
And so Mr. Banks went off to work, believing that his choice to hire 2 nannies was just brilliant, and Mrs. Banks went off to her morning meetings, very happy that the children would be well supervised all day long. So the nannies entered the house, and Jane wondered what would happen.
What are we going to do first, Nanny? Clean over. This is no fun.
But Mary Poppins knew,
And that's no fun.
and so they did just that. And Molly ran over to make it a game. And so they made it a game. They had fun doing their chores. They actually had fun doing their chores. They couldn't believe it. It was like magic. They couldn't believe their eyes, and they couldn't wait to see what the new nannies would do next. Mary Poppins knew they were finished in the playroom.
We're finished. Let's go out.
So Molly said, she led them along. Come along, she said. And so the nannies brought the children down to the park, but they even made that a game too. Everything these nannies did was fun. The children just loved it. They made it to the park where the nannies Poppins introduced them to their friend Berta, the chimney sweep, who just happened to be taking a break drawing pictures in chalk on the sidewalk. Sarah looked at the picture.
I like the picture. Thank you. Wow.
Jill wondered.
You bet it is. Can we go there? Sure, just follow us.
So Mary and Molly gave them some instructions.
Hold on, kids.
And with one quick jump, the children were swept off into a land of imagination as drawn by the chimney sweeps on the sidewalk. They arrived in the magical place, and Berta told them what was around.
There's a fair just down that road, and they've got a carousel.
Sadie knew what was there, and she knew exactly what she wanted to do.
Let's go race the horses.
But Allie was very competitive. She didn't think anyone else.
You can't beat me.
And so they all raced off to the fair and raced the carousel horses. They had such a fun time. And then Berta looked up to the rooftop and had an idea.
Let's go.
You gotta watch, honey. Gotta watch Natalie.
So they blew up the chimneys and played for the rest of the afternoon. They climbed up on the smokestacks and had such a fun time. They could see the entire city. It wasn't until they had to come back down the chimney that the trouble started. They made it back to their living room where Berta was teaching them a new dance. But just as they were getting the hang of it, Mr. and Mrs. Banks came home from work.
What are you doing? Having fun.
Mr. Banks was very disappointed with the nannies.
I thought you were strict.
And Mary thought that maybe he should try watching.
Maybe you should watch that.
And Molly thought if he could do so much better.
I will.
And so Mr. Banks took his children to work the next day with him at the bank to deposit their allowance and to teach them responsibility. But they caused so much trouble trying to give their money to the lady who fed the birds instead of putting it in the bank that they caused a huge panic. Mr. Banks was so upset. Susie told them what they wanted to do. Susie was very upset. She told her father what she had just wanted to do. Sarah offered her own allowance. Sarah offered her own money. And Jill said what he could do with the money. Jenny really didn't want her father to be upset. Mary and Molly and Mrs. Banks tried to reassure him. And Sadie told him what they were trying to do. Sadie didn't mean to cause so much trouble. And finally, Allie apologized and said, "You offered to sit down." The children were so sad. Mr. Banks looked at his children and he started to see that they didn't mean to cause so much trouble. They wanted to do good and they wanted him to be happy, something he hadn't been for a very long time. So Mr. Banks decided to take the day off and bring his children to the park to fly kites.
Let's go fly a kite, children. Really? Yeah!
And so they were all so excited and they spent the day as a family in the park flying kites. Meanwhile, back at home, the nannies were already packing up their things. They knew the Banks family would be okay now.